as a mom, I don't know what I'm doing. There's not a manual. We're just kind of figuring out as we go
Right.
along. And then when I find something that works that I can share, and maybe that helps someone else is really important. And that's what we do in our work too. So I love the, kind of unintentional alignment between the work we do and motherhood and how that kind of shows up, and figuring out, what one side of business can teach motherhood and vice versa.
You are listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which invites you along on a journey to learn of mindful living, grow in mental health, and inspire through personal growth. In a world where we can often feel much stress and overwhelm, this podcast provides bite sized tips and real talk conversations, empowering you to embrace mindfulness and nurture your full potential. I'm your host, Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, licensed therapist, retired educator, entrepreneur, and mom of two. I'm passionate about helping busy moms reduce the overwhelm and to live life intentionally without losing their, well, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. Today's guest is Angel Hepp, and she is a mom of two and a golden doodle puppy based out of Colorado. And she is the co-founder of Meat Salt Collective, which is a creative marketing agency helping business owners connect authentically through clear and compelling stories. Angel shares how she is a recovering perfectionist and how that plays a part not only in her role at the marketing agency, but also in her role as mom. She has awesome mom hacks that she is going to share with us that could be used for anyone, life hacks as well, and has a really beautiful message about being curious in the space that you're in. Thank you so much to Angel, and I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I did. Angel, welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! So we heard a little bit of your introduction, but feel free and go ahead to reintroduce yourself and share a fun fact if you'd like.
Angel. I'm here on behalf of Salt Collective, our creative marketing agency. It's a fun business that I get to do actually with my sister-in-law and a very good friend of mine. And basically, in a nutshell, we get to help small businesses reach more of their dream clients through really great messaging, storytelling, and visuals. So I have been married, it'll be 15 years this year.
Beautiful.
We have two little girls, 10 and 5, and we actually just got a new puppy. She's a little golden doodle. She's 4 months old, so we love her, very excited, but it's definitely an adjustment to kind of get
Oh,
back
yeah.
in toddler phase with a puppy. Yeah, but it's been wonderful. And I think something fun about me is I don't actually own a single pair of like plain socks. All of my socks are like fun socks that have different patterns on them or different colors. Yeah, I don't own a single pair of plain socks.
I'm really loving that fun fact, and it's probably better than owning the plain socks because I could never find the matching pairs. So with patterns,
Yeah.
it'd make it easier.
It actually makes it a lot easier. I was actually able to, for both of my girls, convince them that their sock sorting skills was like a superhero skill. So they were my super sock sorters. So anytime I do laundry, save all the socks in a bin, they specifically were asking to like, Mom, can I sort the socks? It was just magical. So we
Oh
just
my
dump them out.
goodness.
And because they're patterned like pretty clearly, it really helped
Mhm.
them do it fast. So it was like they're learning and they're excited, and then I'm getting laundry done. It was like a total Mary Poppins moment.
Major mom hack that I need
Yeah.
to do with my baby girl because my 11-year-old son, that's like one of the things he hates to do the most. I will embarrassingly say, my cleaning lady sorts his socks because he doesn't do it himself, and
Wow.
I'm so over
Yep.
it. I'm like, can't,
Pick your
I can't because
battles,
now I have
right?
little socks to match myself. So that is a major mom hack that I hope all the moms listening take note. That's what's wonderful.
Yep. Love it.
And Golden Doodle, I have a 4-year-old Golden Doodle who's right under this table
Oh,
here.
I love it.
Yes, and I remember his toddler phase. Oh my goodness. It's like having a newborn, forget toddler and the
Mhm.
accidents and the making sure and the training and all the things. So brave woman you are. Is it going okay with their zoomies and high energy?
Yeah, it's going really well. We're actually really lucky. We met a small business owner just a couple blocks from where we live, and she opened a training, it's like a dog training business. Yeah, she's been training for 15 years, and it just was like stars aligned, meant to be. We got her into it's kind of a puppy day school that happens twice a week. And we started her the week after we brought her home. So it's been amazing to be able to just do the bulk of the training during the day. And then we come home. It's basically like a daycare pickup, sort of. Most of the days spent, all the days spent training, but we come and pick her up. We get like her sheet of how she's done. Here's the homework that we need to work on for the week. So all of us are training. So that's the helpful part right now, having a 10 and a 5-year old is getting them involved and having some responsibility. So we're so excited. I can't wait for the chewing to stop, but everything else is going really
It
well.
gets better. Just as with newborns, it does get better with time.
Yeah.
Oh, so good, so good. And I'd love to jump into your work that you do because my other business called the Latinx Practice Collective, what we do is help therapists help them on their marketing. And sometimes it's so hard for people because it feels odd to talk about yourself and to get your branding and everything like, to what you do. So, how does the SALT Collective, coincidence of a name, but how does the SALT Collective help people who are interested in expanding their brand?
Yeah. So, really, what we like to do is, as small business owners ourselves, we definitely understand what that's like to wear all the hats in your business.
Mm.
You know, your HR, your IT, your marketing, you're doing the business, literally everything, right? So, we use the 7-part framework from StoryBrand. It's based on the Building a Story Brand book by Donald Miller, which is
Yes.
an amazing book. I
Amazing book.
highly recommend it. The new version of it, 2.0, actually just came out,
Oh,
and
nice.
so many great tips and tricks and tools. But that's basically our framework is using more of a storytelling methodology, a storytelling framework that helps business owners really remove themselves from being the center because that can be uncomfortable for a lot of business owners, right? A lot of business owners get into what they're passionate about and doing that kind of work. Getting to talk about themselves or market themselves is a little bit out of the comfort zone. And so with that, the big twist on what we find really helps story brand work and be effective for a lot of business owners is that you are making your client the hero of the story, not yourself. And
Mm.
so that mindset shift really helps them understand and start talking about what they're doing and why they're doing it, the people that they are passionate about helping, what's the solution that they provide. And so we come in as kind of an outside party and do some discovery calls. We help those business owners. We have like a full deck of questions that we ask to really unearth a lot about why did you get started? Who are you trying to help? Why do they need you? And helping the business owner come alongside as a guide. And so it's really helpful to create this really compelling story for them that they can then use to help get more people the solutions they need. Um, it's definitely a positive shift, especially for someone like me who is just not a salesperson at all. It makes me very uncomfortable and very sweaty. And so being able to shift it from I'm trying to sell you a product to I have something that I genuinely know will help you. And I really want to make sure you know that it's there. And so that's been really, really powerful to be able to provide that shift and help someone realize you don't need to feel the pressure of being the hero of the story. That's not your job. If you're a hero and your client is also a hero looking for a guide, then you two actually won't need each other. Your client will say, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing that you do that. I'm actually looking for somebody who can guide me to do that. Best of luck on your travels," right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if we help business owners understand that they're more of the guide coming to help this hero to overcome these challenges because they have a unique solution that they can provide. It's like you're the Obi-Wan Kenobi looking for your Luke Skywalker, or, you're the Dumbledore looking for your Harry Potter.
I love those examples, and
Yeah.
hopefully people can connect if they have that interest. And I really like that perspective because so often we're like, well, these are all the things that I can do, and this is my background, and this is how I can help, which is good for the person to know, but it really is making the client or the customer the hero so that they can, just say, all right, you are the person that's going, like you said, to guide me and help me get to where I need to get or whatever the results are that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you help people outside of your state of Colorado?
Yeah, yep, we do. Absolutely. A lot of times, a majority of our clients at the moment are actually out of state, thanks to all
Okay.
the amazing technology to be able
Yeah.
to do what we're doing right now and have those discovery calls via Zoom, and then taking what we create and putting together the messaging, delivering all of that, recommendations and a timeline. Some of that too is the accountability portion. So,
Mm.
regardless of where you're located, some of that too, because again, wearing all the hats, you got all the things to do at work, let alone at home, right? So you have very little bandwidth mentally to try to just make sure you're checking all those boxes. So that's something that is part of our service is after we go through, put together that messaging. Here's the recommendations of what we're suggesting. And then we break it out into actionable steps. Between this time and our next check in meeting, let's accomplish these three or four things. We'll check in 30 days. And we find that really helps to keep people, on track with what they need to do. So it just doesn't get lost. And we say, here's all this new messaging. Best of
Yeah.
luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, we just start breaking it out in actionable steps.
That is so amazing. And I'm sure that you meet all types of entrepreneurs and business people doing, all types of things and in different walks of life. But I'm sure you also come upon people like me who have a hard time letting go because they want to make sure that things look some way or things look another way. And that brings us to the conversation of overachievers that are somewhat perfectionistic. And how do they really find that balance? First, with what you do as far as like your work, but then for themselves, because that's sometimes hard to let go. So how do you help there?
Oh my gosh. Whew. Well, I am a recovering perfectionist, so I would definitely know what that's like from firsthand experience. A lot of it is, again, as a small business owner, you're generally working from the ground up. You've rolled up your sleeves, you're the boots on the ground, doing all the hard work, the grinding, getting your business to a place where, okay, it's functioning. Now I want to, bring more people to the service I'm offering. And it really does feel like a big part of who you are. And how do you just relinquish that to somebody else? And so, part of what I think really works with what we're doing is in those discovery meetings, it's also relationship building.
Mm,
And I love what Brene Brown talks about when it comes to trust. It's not just this sweeping, like, hey, you should trust me. And then it just happens, right? It's just one marble in the jar at a time. And you fill up that trust jar with all of those marbles with the small things that you're doing. So, building trust over the length of time we're working together, building those relationships, and kind of being able to show what's possible and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. So, if we're going to implement something, we're able to show examples of how we've helped someone before or how we've done it ourselves or both. And so, I think that really helps when it comes to those of us that really just have a very particular way of doing things or
yeah.
the way we want things to look, feel, sound. All of those things are actually really helpful to make sure we're delivering the right product that delivers the right message. And so it's part of that trust, that relationship building. It's that accountability check in on our end as well to say, okay, um, if we're going to have 30-day check-in. We're going to have these three or four items. This is what we're looking for. Again, just Brene Brown all the time. Love all of her work and what she's done. But she, in her um, book about leadership, she talks about when you're working with a team and you are working on some kind of deliverable, asking the question, what does done look like? And
Mm,
then that gets everybody on the same page of like, okay, done for me looks like this PowerPoint presentation with this many slides with this color palette, which is amazing
right.
because on our end, if we were thinking done looks like a video or something completely
Mm-hmm.
different, we'd meet our own
No alignment.
expectations,
Right.
but then together, what we're looking for as a group totally misses, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's really helpful again when it comes to those business owners, which I feel like is pretty common as an
A business
entrepreneur
owner. Yeah.
because you're doing all the things, you've got the drive, you've got all of that. So it's almost by nature that that's
Yes.
the personality type, especially as an Enneagram type 3, that's this is me, this is who I am. Like I totally get it. So I think that helps too to be able to speak from experience.
Absolutely. And if you mentioned if you are a recovering perfectionist, then I am still like relapsing. I am off the wagon, on the wagon, because I really try to get past that. But sometimes because it is kind of like raising a baby or raising a
Mhm.
puppy, we've
Absolutely.
really built this from the ground up. And it's hard to sometimes let go of that control and how things should look like. But what I've learned is when we're able to work through that and do that work, then the outcome ends up coming out better because we don't know all the things and we have to trust the
Yeah.
professionals who do their best and their best work in doing the things that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love in the new version of the Building a Story brand book, the author Donald Miller gives this great example. And he was saying it's for business owners, sometimes creating your own messaging and crafting this compelling story can be really tough because it's like you're inside a bottle trying to read the label on the outside, right? You're so
Mm,
in it, you've been doing it for so long. I'm a big reader. And so when we meet with our clients and we have discovery meetings, we're telling them that as business owners, you're all the way in chapter 47 in your book. The people that are coming to you, they're on page one. So
hmm.
that's why it really helps for us to come in. We're almost like pseudo new clients in the way that we don't know a lot about the deep story they have, which is very beneficial because we're asking questions their potential clients need the answers to. And they're not going to take the time to do the research and find out we want quick, easy solutions. We have problems, we need fast fixes. And so being able to really clarify quickly even in something like the one liner for your business that shows up, on the header of your website, it should be very clear. And that's something that we challenge them when we're in a meeting. Let's look at your website right now. Could
Mm.
somebody who knows absolutely nothing about you or what you do repeat to you what you do? And sometimes it's like, oof, maybe not because we've chosen really flowery language, which is good in other places. Or it's just we want to be all the things to all the people. And so all of that's there too. So those types of things where we can again be that guide, walk alongside them to say, this is, what's going to work. This is what's been really helpful for us and other business owners, just helps along the way with, that control tendency to want to do all the things.
Yeah, so good. And I love the example of being on the inside of the bottle, trying to read the label from the inside
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
That's really tough. And we know the full stories. We know where we came from. We know where we want to go. But the customer, client, consumer coming in for the first time doesn't know all that backstory and sometimes doesn't care. So we need to make things easy for them to kind of obtain so that they can see the service or product that we provide.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. So, how do you think that that relates to being a mom? You said to a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, and now a golden doodle puppy.
I know. Oh my gosh. Being a mom and a business owner, there are so many things that seem to cross over that I don't necessarily realize until they're actually happening. And I'm
Yeah,
kind of trying to teach them a lesson, but at the same time in my brain, I'm
teaching
like,
yourself.
oh, I'm teaching myself a lesson. And so I think a lot about when we talk to our clients about clarity and how important that is. And, we have this saying in our office, like clarity is kindness. It comes from
Mm,
story brand framework. And taking that and using it as a filter when I'm talking to my girls and thinking about, if I'm asking them to do something or I've talked to them about something, is it clear enough that they can understand that a 5-year-old who's only had 5 years of life experience, she doesn't have a
right.
whole context of all the things. It really reminds me of a time my 10-year-old, I think she was maybe 3 at the time, and she was telling me something about preschool, really exciting and fun. And I said, "Oh my gosh, get out of here." Like it was amazing. I was astounded. And her face dropped and she started to bawl. And she was
Yeah.
like, "I don't want to leave." And it just was one of those light bulb moments, right? She doesn't have the context to
Right.
understand
Get
nuance
out of
and that
here.
it's an expression and those kinds of things. And so just the constant revisiting of that clarity and what is it that I'm looking for? Like if I am telling our girls, because bedtime for lots of moms as
Mm,
well is just, oh
yes.
my gosh, I
Gets
saw
drawn out.
a post about it once that was like, kids turn into dehydrated philosophers at bedtime. And I was like, it's
They want
so
to tell you
real.
all the things.
So many questions, so many just big cerebral thoughts and needing all the water and everything.
Yeah.
And like, we couldn't have done this earlier around dinner time when we were chatting.
Right.
Um, and so if I'm asking them to go to bed well, is that clear?
Hmm.
I even just last week, we're using an app that we found for them where they can earn coins for doing things like eating
Nice. A chore.
check it
Yeah.
off the list. Yeah, those kinds of things. And one of the tasks said going to bed well. And I thought about it. I thought, well, that's not really fair because what does that mean? What does that
Hmm.
mean to me? What does that mean to her? So then breaking it out with, getting water before bed, making sure you're still and not moving, you're speaking softly, like breaking
Yep.
down whatever it is, because then that sets an expectation that's very clear to both of us, and we both know how to win. It sets us both up for success.
Yeah, what a huge takeaway because I feel that that's something and my work with moms, and even when I was a teacher, it's something that we miss a lot of the time. And if that small component of clarity was very clear
Mhm.
to the kids, but also to ourselves, so that we're thinking how they think, so that we are then able to explain it the best that we can. If we had more clarity, then we may not have as many hurdles to jump over, like the dehydrated philosophers, which is absolutely hilarious because so often our kids really may not understand what we expect from them, which is why I always ask, well, what does that look like? And what does that
Mm.
sound like? So if
Oh, I
they're
love
able
that.
to tell me, what does that look like? What does that sound like? Then I know that we're on the same page, as opposed to your first example, like, well, what does done look like? Because we may just have different expectations based upon our life experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And does that happen regularly that I'm pausing to recognize the clarity? No.
Right. Right.
And
Because
does it
life
even
just
happen
goes,
most of the
goes.
time? No, because, this is just real life. But as often as can try to be intentional about it or just get that reminder in the moment of like, oof, that wasn't really very clear. Let me try that again. So, yeah, giving ourselves
Yeah,
grace for sure.
for sure. And I love the way you're being real and keeping it real because that is what motherhood is like. We don't always, keep up with the pretty picture that Disney paints in our head. Sometimes we are yelling and we're like, ah, like
Oh,
I've
yeah.
told you a bazillion times, and so on and so forth. However, when it comes to the alignment with my mindful living framework, you hit it right on the nose as far as like, does it always happen? Taking that moment to pause and reflect on that, and then having that awareness of like, no, today was not a good day. I could have done A, B, or C better, and then trying again the next day because there is no such thing as perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's something that's really important that I've found in a lot of things that I've done personally, encouraging and empowering women and girls is just my jam. I could talk about it all day long. I get so energized by it. And so when I had opportunities to work with moms and seeing that kind of moment in them where they feel seen or they feel heard or that I'm not alone is
Mm,
so important to have because it can feel so isolating, especially in, our world is dominated by social media and we're scrolling and we're seeing all of these things about these beautiful family photos and these wonderful family trips. And, we can know that that's not real, but do we know that in our heart, right? Our brain
right.
might know it, but our body, our heart might not know it. And
Yeah.
so I think anytime I have the opportunity to really just say, this is how it is, I think is just really helpful because it can be really isolating as a mom and as a business owner, right? When you're feeling
Absolutely.
like this isn't going great, but I'm looking at everybody on LinkedIn or everybody on whatever platform you're on, and they're succeeding and all of these, 6, 7 digit wins for their business. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I just feel like I'm failing. And so providing those opportunities to just, create a level playing field. Like as a mom, I don't know what I'm doing. There's not a manual. We're just kind of figuring out as we go
Right.
along. And then when I find something that works that I can share and, maybe that helps someone else is really important. And that's what we do in our work too. So I love the, kind of unintentional alignment between the work we do and motherhood and how that kind of shows up, and figuring out what one side of business can teach motherhood and vice versa.
Absolutely, because both can be very messy,
Mm,
literally and figuratively. Both have a lot of hurdles that you have to jump through, a lot of challenges to go through. But then when you are on one side and then look back at the journey, both, make you smile through the tears and the heartaches and all the things.
yeah.
Like, for looking at both journeys can really have a special place in your heart. So I say that, wholeheartedly as a mom of two and then as a small business owner as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So bringing it back to being a perfectionist, when not just when it comes to motherhood, but for your business, do you have a tip on how us overachievers, high working, Enneagram 3, as you were saying, one tip that we can kind of keep at the forefront of our minds to help us keep going, regardless of what it is we do in life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that was really helpful was it was probably a handful of years ago, and a friend of mine who's a business owner, and a coach, she was just starting her business and she had asked for volunteers to kind of, if she could kind of test some of her processes, on people. And so I said, absolutely. Again, I'm just this champion for women and girls and supporting all of those things. So I was like, yep, sign me up, absolutely. Thinking I'm going to go and be the help, I'm going to offer the feedback, here's my notes. And so we went through, and the first day, the first step in her coaching process was about limiting beliefs
Mm,
and going through, and she had a whole process about how you can kind of uncover them, documents, for note taking. Can you now take what you've learned, apply it to yourself? What are some of your own limiting beliefs? And it was a massive light bulb moment because I didn't realize that I even had them because it was just like, this is just who I am. This is how I am. This is the way that it is. And so to even be invited into a space where I was questioning those things just from a place of genuine curiosity, um, was a huge first step. And so that's something that I would really encourage a lot of moms, a lot of, moms that are also business owners, and we're holding on tight to like doing everything as absolutely perfect as we possibly can. What does that actually stem from? And for me, it was, being in therapy and doing a lot of internal work and discovering that for me, what it was, part of what it was, is the output that I am showing to the world is directly tied to my value. And it took a lot of time and energy, internal work, so many things to get to that point. But I think thinking all the way back again, right? I'm like on chapter 47, somebody
Mhm.
who's on page one, what's going to be the most helpful thing? How can I provide some clarity, if at all, is really looking at that and just thinking about, okay, when something doesn't go your way, or something doesn't work out, something bad happens, what are the first handful of things that you're hearing in your head? Because again, I didn't even realize that I could be in control of that. I didn't realize what I was actually saying to myself over and over because it's just been playing for so long. It just was like, I guess this just is how it is. And so being invited to pause and be curious about that was a total game changer.
Yeah, you use the same word twice, and I would want to point that out to folks is the aspect of curiosity or being curious. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, even for the mom who's listening or watching right now, or the business owner who's listening or watching, they can say like, "Oh, well, I don't do that, so that's like some a downfall or something that's
Mhm.
stopping me," right? Because then that's again that chatter that we hear in our mind, as opposed to just looking at it of let me be curious of what shows up, what is happening in my mind, what am I hearing, what am I experiencing it, and not trying to put a label of judgment on there as a
Mhm.
good or bad or I got to change this,
Absolutely.
but just let me be curious, and then does it serve me, and if it
Mhm.
doesn't, how can I then shift or rewrite that? So that's a big aspect too of mindfulness or mindful living that people sometimes overlook, but
Mhm.
even taking those moments is being mindful as well.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. Getting to learn the value of being curious and how that really widens the scope of everything you're looking at from a place of wonder and not a place of, okay, I'm looking for all the ways I'm succeeding or I'm looking for all the ways that I'm failing. Because if you're looking for something, you're going to find it. And that just kind of is more of that confirmation bias, more of that, like, well, I knew I couldn't do it because I'm looking at my past and seeing all the reasons why this failed, this failed, this failed. So therefore, it's justified. And really just stepping back from that lens of open curiosity and wonder because that shift just allowed me to see more things that I wasn't even looking for them. And that's how it kind of showed up is just being curious about it and wondering about it and then taking it from a place of learning and just being really kind to myself, giving myself a lot of grace. And that again just opens up more space for those things to be worked on, not from a place that you're a bad person or there's something wrong with you. It's just, I'm looking for a different outcome. So, how can I adjust the path I'm walking to get to that place?
I love that. How can I adjust the path I'm walking to get to
Hmm.
that place? That's a really,
Yeah.
really powerful question and wondering statement.
Hmm.
So, with your busy, busy life, how do you find time to, engage in self-care and just, leave that space for that curiosity?
Yeah. So, therapy for sure is amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful to my therapist. So that's super important. It's, unfortunate as a luxury in terms of accessibility, but doing, looking at the spaces that might be available before I started therapy, it was a local moms group that I was a
Mm,
part of. And just being in a space where I could have that community or have that one, two, three other people for business owners, that might be a really great chamber of commerce or a women's
mhm.
business group or something like that, kind of being where people like you are, and finding that comfort and being able to hear stories that are like yours that maybe you don't even know that somebody else is experiencing it.
Yeah.
And also being in a place where you can hear stories that are different from yours. You can say, oh my gosh, I was going through this. Somebody else over here, they're going through that, creating that, strengthening that empathy muscle, that curiosity muscle, all of those things. Something for me that I did too was I now wake up about an hour early before
Mm.
anybody in my house wakes up. And I would always read books or blog posts or hear podcasts that people are like, I just wake up early. And I'm like, That's not a real thing.
Yeah.
And like that's aspirational, but I just love the snooze button. So no, thank you. And
Yep.
so really something that was helpful for me was instead of just deciding like I'm gonna wake up an hour early, I just set my alarm clock 5 minutes early for a couple of days and
Okay.
just committed like, okay, I can do 5 minutes early and just chunk it out in small bits. So I did
Hmm.
5 minutes early for a couple of days, 10 minutes early, a couple more days, and really just, I'm not running a race against anybody else. I'm
Right.
just trying to get to, right, the outcome that I'm looking for. And having those like small little increments really helps just make it a lot easier instead of like, nope, it's going off an hour earlier, hit the snooze, done with that.
Yeah.
And so viewing it almost in my mind too, to get that motivation and that outcome I'm looking for is like pepping myself up for the micro staycation I'm going to get in the morning, right? It's quiet. I can drink my hot cup of tea while it's still hot. Nobody's interrupting me. Nobody's
Yep.
asking a bajillion questions. I don't have to hear mom a whole bunch. And so, really framing it as like, not looking at the obstacles I have to overcome to get that, but looking at all the benefits, the things I'm excited to be able to do is again some of that motivation to really buy that time. It's hard as moms and business owners when we're doing so many things and we are so many things
Indeed.
to so many people, to find time to belong to ourselves. Some of that guilt can kind of, really show up like, oh my gosh, maybe it means I'm a bad mom because I want time for myself. And really, again, looking at being curious about those things. Where is that coming from? Being able to take care of yourself and feed yourself well, if that's, reading, if that's Bible study, if that's getting to watch a show you want to watch
Yeah.
uninterrupted in the morning with a hot cup of coffee or tea or whatever you enjoy. I think that's been really, really helpful to just make time for that, and just slowly, incrementally getting there. Because I think that's a
Yeah.
part that's missed a lot. It's just like, it'd be great having an awesome morning routine, drinking hot coffee, working out, journaling, judge-free zone. Those things are all amazing. And how can we slowly get there? Just
Right.
5 minutes at a time.
What a major, again, life hack for everybody who's listening. Because so often we get stuck in that like all or nothing. Like, if I don't wake up at this time, then it can't happen.
Yeah.
Instead of just taking it a bite-sized chunk at a time
Yeah.
and knowing that we can get there eventually. It doesn't have to be from one day to another. And that
Yeah.
I think can be, applied for all aspects of life, whether it be motherhood or again in our jobs, in our careers, in our relationships. Little at a time probably goes a longer way than trying to make that shift and then feeling like we're falling short and then maybe even giving up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I am going to set my alarm 5 minutes earlier tomorrow because that is a goal that I am currently working on to get more of that time before the kids wake up. So I'll be
Yeah.
implementing that myself. I'll let you know how that
Small
goes.
chunks. Keep me posted.
Angel, if you could be remembered for anything in this world, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. What a wonderful question. I think for me, I would want to be remembered for creating space for women and girls to do things they didn't think they could.
Mm,
And for them to be able to see examples, not just of myself, but of other people that I can encourage to be brave, to take that step, to open that business, to have that conversation, to, you know, whatever it is that those women, those girls are afraid of doing. Maybe I've provided in some small way some encouragement or motivation or cheering them on enough so they believe in themselves to take that step. I would love to be remembered for that.
your girls are lucky to have you as you're
Thank
starting
you.
there. I absolutely love that message. And thank you for the work that you do within your marketing agency and outside of that as well.
Thank you so much. You're creating such an amazing space for moms, amazing resources, so many tips and tools and things that are helpful because that's again, there's no manual for this. We're
Right.
all just figuring it out as we go along. And so if it's like, hey, this worked for me, try this out for you, the more we can do that, the better off we're all going to be.
Most definitely. Where can all of these moms and business folks find you after they finish listening to the episode?
Yeah, so for our creative marketing work, that all happens at Meet Salt Collective. And so that's our handle on Instagram, Meet Salt Collective, and then our website as well, meetsaltcollective.com. And then we've got a home decor and gift shop that's under our brand of, storytelling and messaging and visuals, all of that. So that is Josephine and Grace CO. Those are our girls' middle names. So that's another place where most of our amazing business work happens on Salt Collective. Some of the other things, aside from, what's happening with home decor and gifting, but other insights and encouragement, things for moms happens on the shop.
That sounds so amazing. And we'll be sure to link everything so that listeners can find it and hopefully visit you in some way, whether it be in Colorado or online.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing space and time with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Angel for sharing of her time and the beneficial mom and life hacks that we can also implement within our own lives. So, with that, for today's guided reflective meditation, just think about an area that you can improve in a very small chunk. Is it that 5 minutes getting to bed a little bit earlier? Or is it just sweeping the living room once, not literally, but just with eyesight and picking things up very quickly instead of cleaning the whole living room at the end of a tired day? Is it making a very simple meal instead of a 4 course gourmet meal or something different for everyone in the family? How can you do one simple thing to make your life better in a very small, bite-sized chunk? And as you're thinking about that one thing, remove the judgment of, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it all. Let that go, as it is that type of thinking that sometimes leads us to the path of overwhelm instead of just thinking about this one thing. My friends, it is always my pleasure to share space with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you think that this message would be beneficial to another mom friend, please be sure to share it with them. And as always, remember, in a world where you are free to be anything you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Thanks so much, and catch you next time. Free to Be Mindful exists because of viewers and listeners like you. If you're enjoying the podcast or felt this week's show resonated with you, please take a moment to leave a rate and review on the platform where you catch your favorite shows. That quick and easy act allows me to see what you're enjoying so I can deliver more personalized content that focuses on learning, growing, and inspiring. It also helps others find the podcast too. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen along next week. And if you can do me the favor and share this podcast on social or with a friend who may benefit from the message shared today, that would be truly appreciated. In the meantime, I welcome you to follow me on social media across all platforms at Counselor V. De Jesus for more fun content. And remember, my friends, in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next week.